principles that we all, thought that everyone was buying into.
Right.
When we talk about America. So, on one level it's about medical marijuana, but on another level it's about, the fundamental right of people to, by ballot initiative, to amend their constitution, and to now, legislatively have all of that basically, slashed to pieces. And it's an argument that should resonate with people who know very little about medical marijuana,
but understand government and democracy.
Understand at their gut that this is not right. That's the message. I think that needs to come of this.
One of the issues that Representatives Horn and Kavanaugh are going to be talking to people about the bipartisan effort, and it's viewed as a bipartisan effort, but we do know ultimately that it was driven by a huge Republican majority.
Yeah, look, Rep. Durhal and I, the task force that was started last session, I don't know what would have come of that because it was never really given a chance to sort of culminate. I have sat on, right now I'm serving on the Governor's Commission on Indigent Defense. I have served on true bipartisan task forces where all groups are given a voice, and there's some legitimate give and take. I wasn't privy to this work group, but just because you have, one person from each party doesn't make it a bipartisan, as much as the majority party has been trying to, basically find people, on both sides of the aisle to say, oh, look, look, it's bipartisan. You have to look at the process under which it was, and when you have one voice consistently driving the legislative agenda, how that's by definition not bipartisan.
It's really been an atypical treatment in the legislature. Certainly no other issue has come across in this particular way. Can you recall another issue that may have been treated this way that's passed through the legislature?
In this session?
Or ever?
In this, well, I don't know about ever, but in this session, under this administration, with all branches of government in the hands of a single party, yes. The teacher tenure bills, every state budget, the emergency financial manager legislation. It's been a common theme throughout.
Totally right.
Our position has been: how can you criticize a law that you haven't? There's been no effort at all, and there's almost been like an intentional effort to not implement it. After how many of the issues have come about, and the discussion has been driven by the mere fact that a patient or caregiver doesn't have a card in their hand. Do you know how long that discussion went on for, and clouded, any kind of reasonable discussion about medical cannabis? You know what I mean? Like that's
right. Yeah. Well, if you can't win on the merits, you might as well just confuse the issue. Right. That's been a consistent MO as well.
At the legislative hearings, one of the state police officers that was testifying was asked, "What's the state police's position on usable material under the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act?" This is the fourth year that the law's been around, or going into our fourth year. He said, "We don't have one yet."
We don't have one. We don't know.
Right. What about growing outside? That's the thing. Like, it's not for
we don't know.
Communities' desire to want to be guided, or let, but it's just been a frustrating situation, and they've driven this entire thing into a criminalizing and, made it all public safety instead of public health issues, which has been very, very frustrating.
It was the shooting seminars that ended the old task force.
Yeah. That's what it was.
It was, I'm sorry, say what?
It was the Shooty seminars that ended the old task force.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, once he lost the House, it became pretty clear that that it was going to just. And the thing is that from my vantage point, I mean, I'm not on judiciary this session, but from where I sit on the Appropriations Committee, the committee process is nothing more than a play whose ending has been pre-written and ordained.
Right.
The judge, jury, and executioner is coming from the same party, and they know exactly where they want to take a particular issue, and the legislative process has been absolutely, from my vantage point, has been trampled upon, and it's sad to actually witness it, and it's frustrating to know it and feel extremely powerless in being able to stop it. Except by telling people that we have an election in 2012, and we got to take the House back.
Absolutely. Now, one of the we went on this 26% operation, 26%, trying to reach out to what we believe the Democrats who would oppose the supermajority. Have you been getting letters and emails from the community? Do you sense?
Yes. Yep. It's been very effective, and I would keep at it.
Excellent.
I would keep at it. I mean, legislators have to know that when they cast a vote, there will be consequences. They have to know that.
That's I got to tell you something. When we were doing the project of getting the names together and so people could contact by way of email. I was doing some of the work on that because I'm a lawyer and I've got nothing else to do on my hands. But we were, I was looking. We would go to the individual web pages of the Democrats, and there are people. They've all
stepped up to the plate to make a difference
in their lives in terms of where they are, and it's been through the system, through the democratic system, and there are people that have, and that's the key, and you mentioned it, and I don't know, how do you reach that to them, that this is, that to allow it to go on is really just a
true democratic issue.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very fortunate because I represent, in my mind, one of the best communities in the state, one of the best districts, and in a lot of ways, my district is extremely progressive. But I do think that people that maybe think of themselves as apolitical, I'm talking about constituents, voters, who may not necessarily even be engaged on a particular issue, medical marijuana, or maybe communities being taken over by emergency financial managers. And people have a very strong belief that it's always someone else's problem. But if you can frame an issue to really say that this is your issue, that you can't get away from it. This is about everything that you believe in and everything that this country was founded on, or that people in your family fought for, is being trampled on. Then you have a chance at sort of awaking that sort of sleep, that inertia that many people feel. And if you can get them mad or angry, and you can convince them that they need to contact their representative, and because you need to give people a call to action. You can't just tell them to be angry, because they're not going to stay angry for very long unless you tell them
why,
and you give them that call to action.
Right,
People they won't stay angry for very long. They'll flip on the TV and they'll find some other way out of their anger. So you have to give them a call to action, and it has to be you've got to tell them what you want them to do. You have to contact your representative, And if a representative gets one letter, that doesn't mean much. But if they get 50 letters, that means more. And if they get 200 letters, then that means a lot. And if they are told that people are watching them and watching how they vote, then you have a chance at causing them to maybe take a thought. You know, maybe I didn't really fully understand this issue. Maybe I should read that bill. Maybe I shouldn't necessarily listen to the law enforcement lobbyist. Maybe I should check this out. You see what I'm saying?
Well, the good news for us is that there's 110 members of the House, 47 Democrats, and 63 Republicans. In order for the Republicans to get a three-quarter majority, they have to have 18 Democrats side with them also. So should our community choose to do a letter-writing campaign, we can target the Democratic Party, knowing that they're more friendly to our issue, and still be successful in stopping the three-quarters majority that most of the bills coming out of the House are going to be facing.
Right, right. And I would also argue that, you know, in the Republican caucus, there are a number of very vulnerable members, members that barely won their election, their election by less than a couple hundred votes. And I would argue that a member that's scared about their reelection prospects should be very cognizant of their constituents. And if they haven't listened to them on the pension tax on seniors, which they didn't, and didn't listen to them about cutting public education, which they didn't, maybe they best listen to them on this issue. So that's another avenue of attack as well.
Well, that's been our strategy, basically, you know, all the talking points and calling and letter writing and emailing, so they knew that, you know, there are a lot of people watching. I want to just, for 1 second, flash back to that, you know, task force that you were talking about. It was a different time, of course, a different political group and authority. But I remember, and it was fun for me because I was asked, like, if I could make a suggestion of a law that to make a, you know, to add something. My suggestion was that we create a law that would force the state court judges to follow state law. You know, we actually sat for a little while and brainstormed about, you know, if we could create a law to do that. It's a little bit different now. It's a little different environment now, right? But but it was fun. It was a fun exercise nonetheless.
To be in the majority again.
Yes.
Let's hope we can get that back, eh?
Right. It's got to be looking that way, I would think. Isn't there a little bit out in the background? Aren't some of these issues kind of being fought, like if you can get them shelved after a certain period of time, and then, you know, you can just maybe, you know, get the majority back in the next election?
Come back to balance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, listen, you know, that's been the strategy on the no-fault repeal. It's been a strategy on a lot of things because, look, we're already in April, okay? You've got May and June. And, you know, 2 months can be a long time, but, you know, if managed properly, it can be eked out. And then you've got the summer break of July and August. So now you've got, you know, that time where there's no session. And then you've got, you know, September. Is it likely that people are really going to want to touch anything controversial right before an election?
Right.